Hey YouTube, what's going on? I'm here with installment number 4 of Psychic Side Decking. This is playing against windups, and these are the main synchros that you're gonna really want to go in this matchup. Basically, you want to make your Miracle Synchro Fusion as live as physically possible, and that's really where Magical Android comes in. She's my favorite to remove with Miracle Fusion or Miracle Synchro Fusion, but also the 2400 attack is a big deal because if you can get this out on the board before they go Shockmaster, then they either have to go into something else or they have to make Shockmaster with back row protection, and that tells you more and more what they're playing with and what they might have, because then that means that it's very possible they have a Mirror Force or something like that, and you're not going to run into that. So playing Magical Android with that 2400 base attack is very, very powerful against them. Also, Alley of Justice Cataster does really what Android does, and a little bit more and a little bit less. It does less because it's not a psychic, and it doesn't make Miracle Synchro Fusion live. But it takes out what's that card? Shockmaster after it's already on the board. It takes out Shockmaster. It takes out any exceed that they make, barring Adrius, Tyrus, and My Stroke, the Symphony Gen. And it can attack over My Stroke. So Alley of Justice Cataster is a really, really great choice after you've gone into Android, because you want to get Axon out as quick as possible. Psychic Nightmare. It just kind of adds on to where Android left off, because the 2400 base attack is very powerful. But the fact that you get to go up to 34 using this effect is beyond stupid. And you know what your opponent has. They have monster cards in their hand, because their Wind Up Rabbit and Wind Up Factory nets them a monster card every turn. So with that being said, you know that they're getting monsters every turn, and if you do call it wrong, you still get to see whatever type of spell cards that they have, and they really only play power spells, factories, and then spaces, heavies, dark holes, stuff like that, and power traps. So then you get to play around that, so you have inside info. Thought Ruler Archfiend also picks up where they left off with the 2700 attack. The attack points in this one is really powerful because, and this also goes for Psychic Nightmare, they can't just go into Tyrus and get over it. They can go into Adrius and pop it and everything, but Adrius falls victim to your Spell and Trap card destruction. Tyrus does not. And Thought Ruler and Nightmare, if you have his effect applied, get over that Tyrus. So it's also very powerful. And I started to see Wind Up players playing Compulse and playing Soul Taker, stuff like that, targeting cards. And Thought Ruler loves targeting cards. I mean, it eats them for breakfast. So that's another thing. And then Ultimate Axon Kicker. I mean, this card just says no to all of that. The only card that they can really make to beat this is My Stroke, because they can set it face down, and 1700 defense is pretty unspectacular. But if you have, back row for it, then you should be good. And other than that, I mean, they can't Soul Taker it. They can't do anything except for like Compulse. And if you have Thought Ruler on the field or Bark Down on the field, then you should be in a pretty good position. And those are cards that you try to go for every game. So there's no real need to explain those. Effect Veiler. I main Effect Veiler. These are main deck cards that I play. I main Effect Veiler, and I find it very powerful, especially in the wind-up match, because it stops the Magician play the second time, the wind-up Magician play. It stops them from doing so much. It also stops Shockmaster. If you have a handful of green and they make Shockmaster first turn and call spells, and you pitch out Effect Veiler, well, you get to go through your spells and everything. And I mean, it's just a very powerful card against it. The deck is very combo reliant, and a well-timed effect Veiler stops all of that. Then Serene Psychic Witch is a no-brainer. It's a good tip in every game, but it's great because of Psychic Jumper. Because after they've got their Shock Lock or whatever, if you went first and they still did their Shock Lock, more times than not they're gonna call trap cards, because you probably just have Serene Psychic Witch set and then like 1 or 2 traps. So they're probably gonna call trap cards, and then you're like, okay, cool. They hit your witch, you go get a jumper. Next turn you normal summon any psychic. They've called traps, so their traps are dead. They can't torrential you, they can't compulse nothing. Then you activate Jumper's effect, you switch your monsters, you take their Shockmaster. Then you activate their Shockmaster's effect and you call monster effects. At this point, there's not a thing that they can do, because the deck is solely based off of their monster effects. All their windups effects, although they only can happen once while they're on the board, everyone knows how stupid windups are. And there's no real need to explain why their monster effects are the core of their strategy. Torrential Tribute and Needle Sealing along with Torrential Tribute. I wish I had a Needle Sealing. I don't own one, but Torrential Tribute and Needle Sealing, extremely powerful. It just clears the board before they can go into their exceeds, and it just clean erases the field. Then Deep Prison and Bottomless are really, really good against their exceed monsters, namely Shockmaster for Bottomless and Tyrus for Deep Prison. Of course, you can hit any other ones with these two, but these two are very, very invaluable resources. And Solemn Warning is great against Windup Magician. Windup Rabbit, Solemn Warning is the only way you can kill Windup Rabbit, unless they just want it to die. If they want Windup Rabbit to die, it'll die. But other than that, Solemn Warning is the only way you can kill it on the way. So those are main deck cards. Side deck cards, I really like Windup Juggler. And it kind of makes me want to play Mind Control again. Because they do have a carrier on the board. You can go Psychic Jumper, like I mentioned before. And let's say they don't have a Shockmaster. They just have like carrier and a couple of other XYZs or something like that. You can Psychic Jumper, normal summon any Psychic monster, and switch with their carrier. Then you activate their carrier's effect, special summon a Juggler from your deck. And then just through that, you have a level 6 synchro off of their monster, and you have their windup carrier. So it's a pretty powerful move. Maxi, as everybody knows, is actually really, really good against the deck. But I started to notice that windup players, they don't care. They'll just keep going until they get to their Shock Lock, which will net you like 5 or 6 cards. But they've also got a Shock Lock going on. So at this point, Maxi is pretty good as a mind game, because now they have to decide, do I want to call traps because he has 2 or 3 back row cards, or do I want to call monster effects because there's a possibility that he drew into Gores or Track. So whichever one they call, hopefully you have the other one as an answer to stop them from doing whatever it is, or to stop them from OTKing you. Next, we have the brothers in crime of Goes and Match and Rivalry. Personally, I like Rivalry better than Goes and Match, because Goes and Match, they can still play Rat and Rabbit, and they can exceed into Tempo, which actually is a pretty good card. They can do, crazy little things like that. They can normal summon tour guides into tour guides and sit on that. They can wind up a shark in the shark and then exceed into, what's that card? Abyss Dweller, which actually kind of hurts this deck a little bit. So Rivalry stops all that, because there's no fish that they can exceed into. There's no beast that they can exceed into. Yeah, they can exceed with tour guides and fiends, but who cares? There's no spellcaster with Wind Up Magician that they can exceed into. So I just personally like Rivalry a little bit more than that. Side blocker is side blocker. You read what they have. You know what they're searching with Windup Factory. You decide what a good play is, and you make the play off of that. And it's searchable. It's kind of like Prohibition. If you really just can't stand Shockmaster, you can just go and just say that right off the bat. Phoenix Chain is your third and fourth effect veiler, and it stops their attack. And you activate it on your turn too if you really want to. So you can take their Tyrus's effect offline, take their Zenmain's effects offline. You get to do all of that stuff with Fiendish Chain. And this card is really just like, it's main deck worthy, Thunder King. And if you guys can get it in your main deck, I know I said it needs to be in every side deck, and it should be. But if you can get it into your main deck, go for it. Because this card is ridiculous. It stops their factories, which is theirs. It's just a stupid amount of pluses with their factories. And it makes them exceed into something to, get over, to make you tribute it off. And which also wastes a turn for them. And if you have, back row, then you might not even have to tribute it off. And it's just that great. Fossil Dyna is another great card, and it falls under the category of Torrential Tribute and Needle Selling, because you're going to want to set this card, especially if you're going turn 2. And then if they like Photon Papillon Operative it, or they attack into it, and they call like Speller Traps, because you should have trap cards, or some type of defense other than just this. You shouldn't just be setting this. So if you have some back row, and then you set this card, it makes your opponent, with Shockmaster call traps or something like that. And then Fossil Dyna's effect goes off, destroys their whole board, and then, you have a brand new clean slate to go from. So you should be in pretty winning position. Game 2, you should also be worrying about what they side in for you. And if they are good players in a very good tournament, Windup players side into D-Fissure. So we're going to side into our D-Fissure, hate, DD Telepon, and Brain Hazard. No real explanation there. I've gone over it in almost every video that I've posted in Psychic Side Decking. So you know exactly why you're going to do that. Destructotron, I kind of like it in this matchup just because if you're playing a grind game with windups, they actually have a pretty good grind game. Collecting cards until they need it, especially with Windup Rabbit. So if you have Destructotron on board, Windup Rabbit can't attack over you. You can't keep hitting you and then jumping and hitting you and jumping. It can keep jumping, but it can't hit you. Destructotron gets rid of those back row cards that are a problem, and that's it really. It's a Earth 1600 base attack, which is stronger than anything that they have on in their main deck. Barring Thunder King. So that's a really good pick. And Neospatian Grandma. When all else fails, go to the mole. He's a end all card for just about every deck. Any Exceed based deck, you play Grandma, because it turns their -1 into like a -2 or whatever, just to make the monster. So those are my Psychic Side Decking tips for windups. I really feel that if you can get a field of Rivalry with the Destructotron and an Ultimate Axon Kicker on board, I feel like you should be in an absolutely great position, because there's really not much that they can do to get out of this. If they Dark Hole, your Axon still stays on board. If they do end up spacing or whatever, then, good for them. They still have to get over Axon, even if they do get over Destructotron. And you're always getting rid of their resources while gaining life points so that you can. So this is my favorite. These are my 3 favorite. This is my favorite scenario to have in that matchup. Of course, Soul Taker helps, and that helps every matchup. I really don't feel like I need to go over that because everybody size those. And Snowman Eater is another card that I didn't put in the deck, but here he is. Snowman Eater does help in the matchup. It really just helps take out Thunder King so that you can synchro. But you can just synchro, make them waste their Thunder King, and then go into Ultimate Axon Kicker. But anyway, those are my Psychic side decking choices for windups. I hope this helps you out. And I will be posting up more Psychic side decking videos to come. Alright, peace.